Story of the morning could become the story of the week, story of the month. I don't know. We'll see. President Trump saying he is firing Fed Governor Lisa Cook over alleged issues with her mortgages. And Mr. Liesman, as I mentioned, is at the table. He's been up late digging into all of this, working the phones.
A lot of issues here, Andrew. The firing of Fed Governor Lisa Cook raises dramatic questions about the legality of the move, the independence of the Fed, and the outlook for monetary policy. The president saying he fired Cook for, quote, allegedly making false statements on one or more mortgage agreements. He said in a letter to Cook, the American people must be able to have full confidence in the honesty of the members entrusted with setting policy and overseeing the Federal Reserve. In light of your deceitful and potentially criminal conduct in a financial matter, they cannot, and I do not, have such confidence in your integrity. Cook, in a statement late last night, responded, quote, President Trump reported to fire me for cause when no cause exists under the law, and he has no authority to do so. I will not resign. I will continue to carry out my duties to help the American economy as I've been doing since 2022. Former Fed General Counsel Scott Alvarez telling me last night it's not cause if someone made an allegation that's untrue. To be for cause, she has to have an opportunity to explain her side of the story. We don't know what she told the banks about why she had two primary mortgages. I would note that Cook has yet to directly address the mortgage allegations, but many on both sides, both inside and outside of the Fed, have viewed the attack on Cook as political, part of an effort to strong-arm the Fed into lowering rates. If the president's removal stands, the Board of Governors would have only 5 of its regular 7 members. Chair Jay Powell, appointed by both Trump and President Biden, Vice Chair Jefferson and Governor Michael Barr, appointed by Biden, and Vice Chair for Supervision Michelle Bowman and Governor Chris Waller, appointed by Trump. The president has nominated CEA Chair Stephen Myron to a vacant spot. Replacing Cook would give Trump a majority on the board. Fed probabilities changing only slightly in the wake of the firing. September remained an 82% probability of a cut, but there was a slight increase to 42% from 34% earlier in the evening for a second cut in October. A Trump board majority would also open the possibility that Trump could eliminate the 12 district presidents, 5 of whom have voted any one time, effectively giving the president full control of monetary policy through sympathetic surrogates. Andrew.
I have a million questions, but actually Wilf asked a very good one before we began the broadcast. So I would actually like to hand the floor over to Wilf for that important question.
Thanks very much, Andrew. Which is, do you think Powell will come out and publicly back her?
I don't know. I think that the Fed chair may want to just sort of sit on the sidelines of this. I think other members of the board, I think, will back her in a sense of saying, we need to have a fact-finding on this. And there is none so far. I asked FHFA several questions, and they have not responded. I asked them how Bill Pulte came across this. Were they specifically targeting Fed officials? Were other Fed officials targeted? I asked the extent to which other people have been referred for criminal prosecution, if this is, and how widespread this is. So I don't know, Wilf. The allegation is out there, but whether or not that pertains and is a matter for cause is a really unclear question.
I think there's a question here. There's actually a whole bunch of questions, but you can hold two things in your mind at the same time. You can hold, and I think we've talked about this, you can hold in your mind that she may have done something inappropriate, incorrect, possibly illegal, we don't know, and believe that she's being prosecuted for political purposes. You think that's fair?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's just assume that that's the case. My then next question is, you've been on this for the past week. You were in Jackson Hole. If what she did was an innocent mistake, so I'm just going on that side first, I'm surprised that she hasn't come out more publicly and said, look, this is what happened, this is the story, and I'm sticking to it. Why do you think she hasn't done that? Because if it was pretty simple, I think you'd say it's pretty simple. It's something you could go to court over and, go down the line and follow that. If it's complicated and or it's wrong, you don't say anything up front because it gets more complicated as you go.
I don't have a good answer for that. I mean, I think that if you read her statements carefully, she has not responded to the allegations themselves. It may be her contention that the allegations are not relevant to the question at hand, which is the authority of the president to fire her as a governor.
Right.
And that's where she appears as if she and her attorneys are fighting this question, which is on the legality of the dismissal. Can the president do this? Not whether or not there's actual cause.
But there have been
this.
people who have left the board over controversies around trading and other things.
Not fired by the president.
Not fired by the president. No,
Right.
and I'm trying to think of some of the examples of people who stepped down over trading, for example, just a couple of years ago. How did that happen?
There were referrals, I believe, to the IG, and probably the chair went up and put his arm around them and said, "It's time for you to go." And I think that's important.
And this goes back a little bit to Wilf's question, I think.
Well, it's important in the sense that it was left inside the Fed. But this is no longer inside the Fed.
Can I ask on the legal point, though? Because she's saying, I'm not resigning. So what is the legal standing? Like, where are we right now? Is it that she's been fired and she's appealing that decision? Or that the letter that the president has posted publicly is completely irrelevant?
We are exactly where your question implies we are, which is nobody knows. I didn't even know.
So she's still in place right now.
Let me just say a question. Well, I didn't even know whether or not to say in my report this morning that the president fired Lisa Cook. I don't know if she's fired. Do you know if she's fired?
No.
You know
that he said that she's fired.
He said she's fired.
That is
She says he has no authority to fire her.
That's why I wondered what Powell's going to say. Because next time they have a vote,
the Fed has to say something. If it's supposed to be inside the Fed and they're the ones that are technically in charge, if that's the argument, then they would have to say something about this.
The Fed chair has to say something.
Can I fast forward a little bit as well in terms of the fairly calm markets in light of this, I would say, which is either way, if we look at the last 3 to 6 months, the president's not going to stop on this path now. One way or another, he's going to keep going. And so if we fast forward to, it's May that Powell's term's up?
Yes.
So fast forward to then either way, are we not basically certain that the Fed is now going to ignore inflation data to the extent that we all used to think it would look at it? Or does he have to do both of these moves? Does he have to get rid of both Lisa Cook and Powell? And the other point to look at it the other way, if we bring up that graphic of the surrogates, as you put it, are all of the current people that you had a red bar underneath total surrogates, like we think the next appointment will be, or not?
I don't think they're all total surrogates. I think Chris Waller for sure will exercise some independence. Stephen Mirren, I don't think he would. I think he would take directions of the president. Nikki Bowman, I don't know either. She's taken some direction, as Leslie Picker will tell us, in terms of aligning her views of regulatory policy with the president. Yeah. But whether or not that's unusual or where it should be. Notice that Powell has a red and a blue bar.
Right.
Remember, appointed by Trump and then renominated by Biden. So he's sort of, I guess, in the middle there. It's a good question. I think I have a couple of answers to that. The first is if you look down the road, the market already was priced for a dovish Fed. 3% on the December 2026 Fed funds contract. Look at the 2-year, it's down as well, about 370, 360, whatever, where it was. I didn't check this morning. But here's the thing. I think there's also some belief that a Fed official in the driver's seat of monetary policy will only tolerate so much inflation. But I have another answer, which is this. The market not being concerned with the Fed's independence is one of the main reasons why we have Fed independence. Market says, like a dog, give me more food now, and I will eat it all that you put in front of me, and I do not care about inflation next year or the year after that. Right. I care that I have easy monetary policy now. The whole purpose of having independence is to separate the long-term exigencies of making monetary policy with the immediate gratification desired by the political process.
I'm saving that video. We should just put that video out so people can hear it over and over again. But if that's true, all of the arguments of people who've come on our set, and I don't know if you've ever made the argument, but there's a lot of folks who've said, the market, if the Fed is not independent, the market will melt down. And I think what you're saying and what we're seeing is the market will not melt down. The market will
Agreed.
not
It's really
actually,
interesting.
Well,
the market will not be the reactionary function in any way.
It may not be. And it's important in that respect because if you think about the April 2nd reciprocal tariffs, it was clearly the market that forced the president's hand to backtrack on those reciprocal tariffs. This may not be the case this time, but I would watch the dollar. And then I would watch the knock-on effect of the currency to the bond market. And then I would watch the bond market's knock-on effect to the stock market. Those are the three ways. If the market is going to be concerned about independence, it would be the dollar, the bond market, and then the stock market.
But to your point, if it's like just feed me, just give me more, maybe they don't care.
They don't care now, and maybe they won't. Maybe the strength of the American economy and the liquidity of U.S. dollars around the world is such that they are immune to these concerns about Fed independence. But theoretically, most people think it's a critical aspect of our financial system and the global status of the dollar as a reserve currency.
But just high level, Steve, I mean, you've been covering the Fed for a long period of time. Have you ever made a wall that has different Fed officials based on who appointed them? I mean, it's almost like how we talk about the Supreme Court.
Right.
This person was appointed by this president.
Leslie Picker,
therefore, they have these
Leslie Picker, at the end of the segment here, you came up with the most striking observation of all, in my opinion. As I wrote this segment, and I wrote here these words of who nominated whom, I realized we had really come to this place where the Fed is entirely a political football. In 23 years, I don't think I had ever said so-and-so nominated by such and such.
Yeah.
A single time, be it an Obama, a Bush, or any appointee, I had never, ever distinguished the appointment of a Fed governor by their president, or distinguished it that way. There has never been a reason. So right now the question becomes, is the Federal Reserve permanently politically marked in a way that it will now be seen in the same way that we see the Supreme Court? We had never seen the Fed that way, and now maybe that's the prism by which we're going to be judging and thinking about the Federal Reserve.